Today on Locked On Red Wings, we're going to talk about the new 3-game losing streak the Red Wings have found themselves in.
You're Locked On Red Wings, your daily podcast on the Detroit Red Wings. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What you drinking, Scotty? I saw you take a sip of something.
It's literally water in a can.
Oh, is that liquid death stuff?
It is.
Yeah. I saw that one time on a shelf, and I thought it was going to be way better.
Really
than
good
it is.
water.
Really? You like it? I wasn't a fan.
Oh, yeah. I think it's great.
I'm drinking a can of Coke at 11:30 at night.
I mean, that's healthy.
Yeah, I'm falling apart, buddy. I am falling apart. I've been burnt out for a while. Burnt out on those Red Wings losing hockey games. Ayo, and that's how you do it.
Wow.
That's how you do it. We're professionals.
That's a pro right there.
Yeah. That's all we are. Welcome back to Locked On Red Wings podcast. Thanks for making us your first listen every single day. We are free and available on all platforms. We are your hosts, Brian Fisher and Scotty Bentley. Scotty also hosts at Locked On Tigers, where things are starting to heat up. Cannot wait for April 8th. Tigers home opener.
Can't wait. I'll be there.
You'll be there?
I will.
Oh, my invite must have gotten lost in the mail.
Yeah, it was.
Didn't even get a stamp on it. We just so badly don't want to talk about this past weekend that we're just avoiding it in any way possible. Okay, well, all right. So Sunday was a disaster. Let's not beat around the bush.
Correct.
Scotty, Sunday was a
disaster.
Absolute disaster. But Saturday, 12:30 game at Little Caesars Arena. The Red Wings lost 2-1 in overtime on a weak penalty in overtime where Bertuzzi tied Kucherov up and Kucherov fell and they called it a penalty. Kucherov didn't even probably have the fall. It looked like embellishment to me. Obviously the Penguins game, it being Sunday evening when we're recording this, is fresh in our mind, but trying to look prior to that to the Saturday game, that game showed a lot more effort and heart than what we saw on Sunday, and that was more typical of what we had been seeing from the Red Wings all season long. And the Nedeljkovic in that game, again, not talking about Penguins game, the Nedeljkovic against the Lightning played phenomenal, and it was really good to see him continue at that point in time to build on back on his confidence. And then of course Pittsburgh came in and railroaded him, and he got pulled after 2 periods and 7 goals against. But the game against the Lightning, man, and it's gonna be hard to talk about it because that Penguins game is fresh in our mind. But the game against the Lightning was a lot more competitive, shall we say?
It's hard to be less competitive.
Yeah, true.
But yeah, no, I mean that was not only was that a super competitive game till the very end, obviously, but
do you know what just happened? I went to take a sip of my Coke, and the pop tab pulled a mustache hair out. How, dude? That hurt.
That's the fastest clip of my life. I'm clipping this instantly.
Okay, well, I'm glad we're having fun on this somber event. Now let's go take a sip.
You can do it. Oh, there you go. That's a good sip right there.
It was definitely more like I was very, very much more aware of how I was drinking that time.
But no. But yeah, I mean, like, okay, so obviously it was much more competitive because Sunday's game was a joke, but I mean that's competitive against a damn good team, and I thought that they played up. They looked really fast. I mean the boys looked really fast on Saturday. I was very impressed with how sharp everybody looked. A lot better passing. Still the same issues we've kind of always had, but we were able to overcome them. Ned was great. And then I don't know if it was like, we used all our energy to all of our energy and effort into game 1. So game 2 was just always going to be a bleep show, or if I don't know what else, if it was some other reason, but it seems to me like they looked really sharp and really fast against the back-to-back champs that are arguably the best team in hockey again this year. And because they built that one up, they didn't look at all really past the schedule, and I guess Sunday was Sunday. But if we're just focusing on Saturday, great game against a great team.
Yeah, and what was really shocking to me is the Red Wings like to give up a lot of goals, as we've seen, and the Lightning score a lot of goals. And through 2 periods, shots were like 15-15 against. Now, Tampa had an edge in the quality of the shot attempts taken, as seen on the expected goals for percentage for each period. The Red Wings just barely had the edge in the first, but it was all Lightning in the last 2. But it was a neutral zone game. A lot of shots didn't make it through to the goaltending. It was a good, even battle against a really stellar team who we talked about in our quick preview on Friday. Was at that time 4th in the Atlantic, now shot back up to 2nd. That's how tight that top 4 in the Atlantic Division is. I mean, that's a really damn good Lightning team, and they played well against them, and they held them to 0 goals until with like 5 minutes left in the 3rd period. That's the most stunning part. Again, Nedeljkovic played insane. I think he had 25 saves against in this game. That might be at just 5-on-5. Let me double check on that. Make sure I get that right. He had 36 shots against and 34 saves at all strengths, and only let 2 goals against. One of which was in overtime on a 4-on-3 penalty kill. So I'm not giving him any crap for that. So he played great in that game, and part of the reason they did that, Oscar Sundqvist had a goal. That was awesome to see. The 3rd period gave the Red Wings the lead. That's his 2nd goal in 2 games with the Red Wings.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Even though the one was an empty netter, so he's not known for scoring. But it's nice to see the new blood get some scoring in there. But other than that, like, it was a good game, and we were really upset about the Penguins game. So I don't know how much more I want to talk about the Lightning game, man. It's so hard to talk positive right now.
I don't know. Some of it's all about just perception. Like, if the games were flipped,
would be a lot happier,
right? Like that. It's like, okay,
like, they had a good bounce back game,
right?
After
it would
getting
be
thrashed.
like you said, it would be that. It would be a bounce back game. Got blown out, showed out against one of the best teams, if not the best team in hockey. Like, that's really good, but it wasn't the other way around, was it? So
No.
It's. I mean, like, I guess I thought the how do I even word what I'm trying to say? The defensive play from the forwards was a lot better in that game, specifically, like noticeably better. I thought. I thought that especially the top 2 lines played a lot better defensively than we have seen lately, to put it nicely. And it was a good takeaway. Now, again, it's kind of all for null when 20 later you don't even, you play your defensive strategy as everybody pretending to be a traffic cone. Like, that's a very different, change of pace, and not really as fun to be like, oh, look, this was really good Saturday, when on Sunday you got embarrassed. You know what I mean? Like, it's hard to highlight good when you know for a fact that those goods lasted a day, right? Like, if we didn't play Sunday, we could be like, oh, like, maybe we'll build on this. We could have some optimism. We'd be like, oh, maybe we'll build on it. Maybe down the road we'll be really good. And instead, Sunday happened.
Yeah, it's just so incredibly hard to praise this team for anything that happened on Saturday in that hard-fought overtime loss at home when Sunday happened, because any positives that you have to say about the team did not show up again on Sunday. And, you got to wonder where it starts. I mean, the wheels have absolutely fallen off the Detroit Red Wings wagon since mid-February. They were 500 team in February, and now they've fallen all the way to 26, 32, and 8. Just and what was the statistic that Nolan tweeted out? It was they've given up there have been 3 games with 9+ goals in the last 14 games.
Not great.
It kind of leads me. We need to have, and it's hard to have any recap of these 2 games and this stretch in general without bringing up who's in charge. And we're going to try and save the majority of our conversation about said individual until tomorrow because we want to try and recap the games themselves. But again, you can't recap the games without talking about said individual, namely head coach Jeff Blashill. But before we get into the Penguins game, I got to talk to you guys today about Built Bar. Actually, first, today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline.net has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline, where the game starts. Got to talk to you guys today about Built Bar. You got to try their puffs if you haven't already, guys. If you haven't, you're missing out on one of Built Bar's best tasting bars. Puffs are the first ever protein infused marshmallow. They're fluffy, they're marshmallowy. They're not just a protein bar, they're a treat. And they're covered in 100% real chocolate. Puffs are a fan favorite with some incredible flavors. Yummy cinnamony churro, coconut marshmallow, banana cream pie. So good. These are going to be your new favorite. Low calorie, high protein. Your candy bar, replace your candy bars with these. They're better. A typical candy bar can be anywhere from 200 to 300 calories. So go to Built.com and scroll down to the macros chart. You'll be blown away. High protein, low cal, high fiber, low carb. Compare that to a candy bar with usually has around 240 calories, 30 grams of sugar, and dozens of net carbs. At Built.com, they are all about taste. They make it taste delicious first and figure out how to make it healthy. And I don't know how, but they pull it off every time. So go to Built.com, use promo code LOCKED15 and get 15% off your order. Use promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at Built.com. All right, Scotty, we tried our best. We talked good. We talked nice about the Wings there for like 5 minutes against talking about the Lightning, but we have to talk about this Pittsburgh Penguins game. Like I said before the break, Nolan tweeted it out. The Red Wings have allowed 9+ goals in 3 games in the last 14. There is a difference between, because I got a text. I got a text from a buddy of mine to just preface this. And he said, do you think this is the Red Wings tanking? And I said, there is a difference between tanking and what is happening on the ice right now. One of them is a GM making a move, and one of them is poor coaching. And coaches don't tank. General managers tank. General managers make decisions on what player is going to play at the NHL level. Well, coaches are the ones who make the decision to call up, but general managers have a hand in that. General managers' job when they're tanking is to make sure a team isn't competitive by signing and trading players. A coach is going to go out there and try to win every single game. So if your coach, which has an improved roster and 2 Calder finalists on the roster, can't stop 9+ goals in multiple games. If you go to 7+, it's even worse. Hell, if you go to 5+, it's even worse than that. That shows that it's not tanking. It's just bad coaching. And it starts before the game even starts, Scotty. Before the game against the Pittsburgh Penguins, before a goal was even scored 5 minutes into the game, another early goal against. Why the hell was Jacob Vrana on the 3rd line and Adam Ernie on the 2nd?
I don't know why you're asking me. Goodness gracious. That was like you said, it was before the game even started, and everybody's like, what are we doing here? What are we talking about? Jacob Vrana, ever since the day he became a Detroit Red Wing, has been one of your most prolific goal scorers and just producers in general. Right? Has had a point in nearly every single game he's ever played in a ringed wheel uniform. Like straight up. And he's back from injury. He's had top line minutes since coming back from the injury. And no, today we said, you know what? We're gonna it doesn't make sense. It continues to not make sense. He is, again, he is one of your most prolific goal scorers. He is one of your most consistent producers. Since he was traded to this organization, there is no reason for him to not be getting top 6 minutes and also not be on your top line of your freaking power play. What are we doing? What? None of it makes sense. It's a joke, honestly.
And I recognize too that once the game got going, lines got changed, and he wasn't on the third line the entire game. But the fact that this isn't the first time it's happened is what makes it such an atrocity. This man has 21 games played with the Detroit Red Wings. In 21 games, he has 19 points. He has been a consistent scorer on the top six his entire tenure. Tonight, or this game against Pittsburgh Penguins, he had a goal and an assist. So he had a point on each of both of the two goals. So why does he continue to get slotted down on the third line, even if it's just to start games? Even if it's just to start games. This is just poor coaching. And I have been more so than you, because we've talked about our mindsets on the whole Jeff Blashill situation in the past. I've been a Jeff Blashill defender. I said, years prior, he didn't really have, the talent. Let's see what he can do with the talent. And then the team was overperforming. In reality, 4 players were overperforming. You had Lucas Raymond, Moritz Seider, and then you had Nedeljkovic for the first 2/3 of the season playing out of his mind. And you had Dylan Larkin. Make it 5 with Tyler Bertuzzi. Those 5 players were playing out of their mind. And now their hot streaks have really come to an end. Not that they're still not good. They're still all good players, but they were on fire for like the first half of the season. Now that they're kind of like they're finding the water's finding its level, you find out how shallow this team is. And you have talent in Jacob Vrana, who just came back, and you decide to slot him on the third line. You need depth, but you don't put top-end talent like that down on the third line. That's just not acceptable. And
that's the word. That's the phrase. It's undefendable at this point.
Indefensible. Yep. I am baffled, and I am just at a loss for words at this point as to why, when your team is playing so poorly, and it's not, and I keep going back to it, because people will say, oh, they're tanking for a top pick. Again, GMs tank. Coaches don't. And even if you are tanking, giving up 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, or for the first time in 19 goddamn years, 11 goals in a game. Like, that's not tanking. That's just bad coaching. That's just bad player management. Like, I don't care how bad the defense is, Scotty. The defense isn't so bad to give up 11 goals tonight. The defense isn't so bad to give up 10 goals last night. Or they didn't give up 10 goals last night. But you know what I mean? Like, they've just been
times in the last 2 weeks.
Like, they played Toronto 2 times in the last couple months. And it's been 10 goals against and 7 goals against. That's not acceptable.
No, it's not. And like, Ned's definitely not that bad. We've seen Ned perform much better. And while the defense has been the biggest problem all year, I have a hard time believing any NHL I mean, this isn't, oh my goodness, that like the Wings are going to break a record for the lowest amount of points in a season. Like, this isn't a horrible Red Wings team. It's a team that was at or around 500 for a majority of the season. And then just implosion.
Yeah. I mean, the wheels came off. And that's why I go back to, Scotty, I think that a lot of the success came, and we joked about it earlier in the season, actually. And now I'm thinking about it, I'm like not looking at it in such a positive light. In the past, I joked, Scotty, like, how many of these games have the rookies literally won the Red Wings? And I looked at it like a positive thing, because it is. I mean, these are rookies that are coming out here and winning you games. But then when you're on a losing streak you're like, oh my God, like, these rookies playing so well, and Dylan Larkin playing so well, is all that's winning us hockey games. They're the only thing winning us hockey games. And so once Nedeljkovic can no longer stand on his head, and against tonight against the Penguins, or last night against the Penguins, by the time you're listening to this, did not have a good game. Not defending Nedeljkovic's performance at all. But just like every time, not helped out by the team in front of him by any stretch of the imagination. But, once you got to imagine some of that has to do with he's been standing on his head all season long. And behind a defense that just has Moritz Seider and sometimes Mark Stahl. Like, I mean, this just, the wheels were almost bound to fall off at some point. You know?
I mean, yes, they weren't even really ever on. It was like, in the cartoons when like you see that broken down cartoon car and
Yeah.
like the wheels are like inflating and deflating and it's wobbling all over the place and that's what it was. It wasn't ever a Ferrari at any point, but it was barely together. And now the cartoon explosion with the dollar sign and the exclamation point and the big cloud of smoke has happened.
Yeah, it's just, and the Adam Ernie and Jacob Vrana thing just continues to frustrate me too because they're so
Man, I don't
night
even
and
have anything
day.
against Ernie. I love
No, I
Erdog,
don't.
but
But
like second
he's not a
line
top six
ahead of
forward.
Verana. What are we doing?
I mean, it's just it frustrates me to no end because when you look at their like relative Corsi or relative expected goals for percentage, like really get an idea of how they're contributing to their individual team. Adam Ernie is just playing on much more mitigated minutes down on the bottom line. It has really not been that good comparison to Jacob Vrana's, 13.49% this season. 13.49 relative expected goals for percentage to Adam Ernie's 3. That's still positive in Adam Ernie's favor. Again, this isn't a slam piece against Adam Ernie by any stretch of the imagination. But Adam Ernie's also playing bottom 6 minutes where you would hope that he's got a positive expected goals for percentage playing against worse competition. Jacob Vrana has got a 13% expected goals for percentage relative to his teammates. He is a finisher. The dude scores goals. Against the Pittsburgh Penguins, he picked the pocket of the defender and slid it 5-hole. Like that's just what the guy does. And you're gonna slot him on the third line multiple times. It's just not right.
It's absolutely not right.
I'm so frustrated right now with how this team's playing. And like, hey, you know what? I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it for all of us.
Oh,
You want to see
don't
this?
do it.
You want to look at the heat map? Let's talk about the game itself, not just the Blashill coaching decisions, because we're gonna talk more about him tomorrow.
Oh,
This is all situations.
I mean, I mean,
Go on.
it's hard. It's difficult.
Guys, the entire Red Wings defensive zone is just one big red map.
Like the entirety of in front of the goalie circle, the entirety of everything on both sides filled up to like halfway, right at like the equivalent of the face-off dot there is all red. I mean, my goodness, man.
So, if there's any redeeming factor you could say about this game, it's that the Red Wings took a lot of shots.
They did. Did they outshoot them? Did they end up outshooting them?
The Red Wings had 35. I'm still sharing the screen. The Red Wings had 35 shots against, or shots for. Well, it's 35-35 actually, exactly tied.
Okay. I know that they were leading a majority of the game. Like they were leading most of the second and third period when we were getting obliterated.
Yeah, so they had the edge in quality shot attempts in the first and second period. So, I mean, that's again why, like, you talk about this game, and yeah, the coaching decisions were awful, but Ned did play awful, and the defense played awful, and the forwards played awful defensively. But hey, they had the advantage first and second period in shot attempts. Cool. And by the way, expected goals for percentage, guys, reminder, is not shots, it's shot attempts. So it counts shots that were blocked as well. So not even just the shots that made it through. What do you... I went on my rant, man. I went on my rant. Now I'm just exhausted. I'm exhausted with this team at the moment.
Yeah, like let's
go
take a
from
deep
here?
dive and do some great analysis on an 11-2 loss.
So they gave up 11 against the Penguins. They gave up 5 against the Islanders. They gave up 4 to the Kraken. They gave up 7 to the Oilers. They gave up 6 to the Wild. They gave up 9 to the Coyotes. They gave up 6 to the Panthers. They gave up 4 to the Hurricanes. They gave up 10 to the Maple Leafs. They gave up 5 to the Avalanche. They gave up 7 to the Wild. I can keep going, guys. They give up goals at an horrendous rate.
That's
the defense
honestly
is awful.
that you reading that is I don't say this lightly. That is genuinely one of the most insane stats I've ever read in any sport in my entire life. That any hockey team, you can list that many games consecutively.
Well, they're not consecutive. I should say that. I skipped over the ones that
No,
are like,
well,
two
okay,
to
I
one
didn't mean
overtime loss.
consecutively in the
Yeah.
sense that all the games were back to back. I meant whatever. Consecutively read them. The it's just remarkable that you can go through and pick out, like, I don't even know what you're supposed to like say to that. Like, I mean, that sucks.
The Red Wings give up on average 3.8 goals a game for the worst in the league.
You know what's crazy is, like, a month ago, maybe a little bit longer, we weren't the worst in the league in that.
A month ago, they were 500.
That too.
That's the shocking part.
Good
That's
point.
the thing that we keep going back to, Scotty, is they continue, like, it's night and day. And we tried to be supportive and tried to not have knee-jerk reactions to this bad stretch they're on, but it's not just a bad stretch now. A bad stretch is like 5 or 6 games, which they lost 6 straight games. Then they won, and you're like, oh, it's over with. Well, here they are. They've lost 3 straight again. And each one's been, with the exception of the Tampa Bay Lightning loss, each one's been a shelling. So it's just, how much of it is bad roster and how much of it is bad coaching? That is the question. Because, the
Yes.
defense is bad. And, Nedeljkovic hasn't had great games. But it's not that bad. The
roster should not result
in 11 goals against.
in 11 in 9 or more goals 3 times in the last 3 weeks.
It should not result in 11 goals against from the Penguins. It shouldn't result in 9 goals against from the Coyotes. It shouldn't result in 7 goals against from the Oilers. It shouldn't result in 10 goals against from the Maple Leafs. It's just that you cannot. The defense is bad, but it also lies on the shoulders of coaching. And I don't know who. I mean, we know who to ultimately blame. It always falls on the shoulders of the head coach, but it could be just the coaching staff as a whole. And this season's been one of those seasons where, the first half of the year when the team was playing so well, comparatively to seasons prior, at least, I was all like, okay, we'll keep them around for as long as the team keeps playing. And this is a conversation we're going to have tomorrow, but these are the types of games that get coaches fired.
Well, there's been 3 of them in the last 3 weeks, and he's still here. So
yeah, that's
I'll
the
say
conversation for tomorrow.
Right. I'll say this: he's not going anywhere before the game 82.
I agree with that.
It's not going to happen.
I don't know.
We'll talk. We'll do a full Blashill thing tomorrow.
Yeah. Anything about this game? We kind of ranted about the overall thing. Larkin had a nice goal. That was cool.
He did.
Do I want to go full masochist and look up the hockey stat card from today?
I mean, you could. Crowd was literally chanting, "We want 10," and then got it. And then another one. So, embarrassing.
Why does the hockey stat card only list the Lightning, Islanders, Sabres, Rangers game?
They don't even want to talk about it. They're like, you know what? We're going to not even do this.
Legit, they did.
We don't
the
want
hockey
to embarrass
stat card
them like that.
There's not a Penguins Red Wings stat card.
Good.
It only lists 2 games.
Good.
That is amazing. I don't know if that's coincidence or
good,
implied. I feel a little bit better now, Scotty, having ranted.
Well, I'm glad, man.
Thanks. We'll be back tomorrow
Thanks.
with a new episode. Talking
Tomorrow.
about Jeff Blashill. More about Jeff Blashill. We kind of already talked about him today, but we'll get back on that one tomorrow. And
Yeah. Back
whether
on
or
that.
not he should be here any further.
Yes.
Same time, same place. It's your team every day.
Every day.